Hey guys, welcome to Wow. Sorry about a minute late. I had to pull over, and the sun is very bright here today, and so had to adjust things. But thank God for sunshine. I hope you all had a great Christmas, and it was a different kind of Christmas for everybody, but it was still Christmas. And so I'm glad you're hooking up this morning. And if you can, share this post around. I believe today's message is really going to be enlightening. I know it was to me, and that's how I judge a message, is by how it instructs me. And so I try to bring you stuff that I see in the scripture for myself, and hopefully is an impartation to others. And so while I'm on this note of thanking you for sharing the post around, I also want to thank you for taking the time to support the ministry. A lot of people have been affected by this pandemic, not just physically, but economically, relationally. There's just been a huge, it could be a negative impact, but actually what was meant for evil is actually turning out for good, believe it or not. And so today I just want to give you some things that, as I said, it did help me, and I think it's really going to be revelatory to a lot of people. Now, what I teach is not always the easiest to listen to, because human nature is we want confirmation and affirmation. We don't want correction. But until we correct our way of thinking, there's really not much going to change, because situations respond to our mindset. And I see you guys chiming in. I'm so glad you're taking a minute to watch this. But anyway, I was thinking back in the book of Galatians. The Apostle Paul said, and a lot of times I'll paraphrase the scripture, but even in my paraphrasing, you can go back and see it's pretty much in line. It's a redneck translation. But in Galatians, the 5th chapter and the 1st verse, the Apostle Paul said, "Why in the world do you go back to the bondage that Christ set you free from? Why can't you accept change?" Change is one of the hardest things for a human to do, because change is proof normal, what was perceived normal, is being interrupted. And so that's the whole concept. Why can we not accept change? I like the Message translation, or the Message Bible translation of Galatians 5:1. It says, "Christ has set us free to live a free life. So take your stand. Never again let anyone put a harness of slavery on you." I like that translation. And I go back to an old covenant story about David, King David's great-grandmother. Her name was Ruth. And Ruth has quite the story. And if you're not familiar with Ruth, read the short book on Ruth in the Old Testament. I think it will be encouraging to you, especially people that think, well, I'm just stuck in this and I can't change anything. Oh, yes, you can. There was a family of Judah. Elimelech was the dad. Naomi was the wife. Mahlon and Chilion were their 2 sons. And times got a little tough in Judah. And because of that stressful fracture in their livelihood and their life, even everyday sustenance, they decided to move over to Moab. Now, the Moabite people were under, well, how do I say this? The Moabite people served many gods. One of the gods that they feared really the most was Chemosh or Moloch. Chemosh was a god that they had his statue built upon rocks. And when they built the statue, they had a cradle in his lap. And Chemosh, they thought, needed sacrifices of infant babies. And so they would build huge fires and lay infants on his lap. And that was one of the gods they served. So here we have a family that's going from Judah, the blessed place, into this hellhole. Have you ever been through those times in life you thought, oh, this is going to be a blessing, and it turned out to be a hellhole? I think if you've lived long enough, you can attest to that. But Ruth was one of the girls from that region of Moab, and she had a sister named Orpah. And Orpah and Ruth fell in love with Mahlon and Chilion, and Mahlon and Chilion married them. Time went on, and Mahlon and Chilion died. Elimelech died, and now there's only Naomi left. So here's a lady that left what she was saying is a stressful place, Judah, at that time, and it even got more stressful, losing your husband, losing your 2 kids. And so she, in the book of Ruth, and again, I'm paraphrasing the story, but she told Orpah and Ruth, her daughter-in-laws, said, hey, this is enough. I'm going back to Judah, back to my God. And now, you all just go back into your country. You live the way you've always lived. That's just the way life is. And some of you have accepted what you're going through is just the new normal. It is not the new normal. Only you can define normal. You need a message from a few weeks ago or several weeks ago that I did. But in this struggle, and I want you to see this, in this struggle, Ruth and Orpah were used to the Moabite ways, the Moabite religion. Naomi was not. So in this, we have 2 different mindsets. Naomi had tasted different. She had tasted the blessings and realized this was not the place of blessings. But Ruth had never tasted the blessings. So here it is. Naomi offered them change. Orpah didn't take it. She went back to Moab. And history records that she married one of the men of Moab, and together they had 4 sons, and one of them was named Goliath. Ruth went on with Naomi and married a man named Boaz, and they had a son, Obed, I believe was his name, and then Obed had Jesse, and Jesse had David. So years later, King David is having to fight Orpah's unwillingness to change. How many battles do we fight today because of our unwillingness to change? Okay? So the first step to getting what you want is actually getting rid of what you don't. The first step to getting what you want is getting rid of what you don't want. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but nobody thinks about changing themselves. You have to get involved with the changing of your situation. This is not something prayer is going to fix. I know we were all raised in the mentality prayer changes things. It does. You know what prayer changes? It changes the way you think. That's the reason many people say, well, God didn't answer my prayer, because you were thinking God was going to change the situation, when many times the situation is demanding you change the way you think. If you're in the middle of a problem that's never changing, it's because you probably need to change the way you think about the problem. That may not be what you wanted to hear this early in the morning, but not everything that comes against us is the devil. Not everything that comes against us is the devil. A lot of things that come against us in life is to kick us out of our normal so we can taste something we've never tasted. Are you willing to accept that change? So, what's this? How bad you want change is proven by the determination that you have and the discipline of your decisions during that transition. I'll say it again. How bad you want change is proven by the determination that you have and the discipline of your decisions during that transition. Okay, well, I want to change. Okay, can you be consistent in your decision making? Because there's my train. You cannot make off and on good decisions and expect something to change. You have to be determined to change. You can always see how bad someone wants to change by the decisions they make habitually or perpetually. Everyone's normal is absolutely different. Everyone's normal is different. And what's this? A lot of things we consider a trial, it's only a trial when it falls below what we've defined as normal. Well, the old devil's fighting me on my job. Could you see maybe that it's God closing one door to get you out of that Moab into a Judah where he's got a Boaz waiting on you? Stop looking. There is one thing, and I think some people would say I'm not, but I am, in my opinion, a very tolerable person. But I do not tolerate people that say, well, it's the devil. It's the devil. It's not always the devil. I'm going to be the devil's advocate for a minute. Stop blaming the devil for everything that goes bad in your life. Bad is not always evil. Evil is always bad. And you can dwell on that one. But everyone's normal is different. But our calling is this: we are ambassadors of change. Do you realize one of the greatest Christian witnesses is your ability to change in adverse times? Change doesn't mean you are surrendering. Change means you are wise enough to realize a promotion is available in your life. Some people do not understand the promotion. Some people don't understand. Hey, and when's the last time you thanked God instead of cursing the devil for something that was going wrong in your life? When is the last time? Well, I don't know why that had to happen. Okay, that's what prayer is for. Prayer is not to bring things back to your normal. Prayer is to find out how to move into a graduated normal. And I hope this changes the way you pray. Now, what's this? Ruth was just tired of where she was and what she had. She didn't like little babies, innocent babies, being offered in a fire to the Moabite gods. She got tired of all the belligerency of a false religion. Some people, honestly, Some people are not tired of what they're going through because they've never been exposed to more. Orpah wasn't tired of it, so she didn't change. Ruth was tired of it. Here's one question you have to ask yourself. You can say, oh, I need a change, but are you really tired of what you have now? Because you'll never be motivated to change till you are sick and tired of what you have right now. Ruth, she despised the culture that she was forced to accept by her heritage. Well, Mark, it was normal. You know, we struggled paying bills as a kid growing up, so it's just normal. I struggle paying bills too. When are you going to get tired of struggling? When? Well, you know, it's just normal. There's always been sickness in my family, and I figured this sickness is not what they've had to go through, so I'm blessed. That's not a blessing. The blessing is you change that normalcy that's in your mentality to say, no, sickness is not normal. I'm not blessed because I'm not as sick. Do you see what I'm saying? We have been so manipulated by heritage and genetical teaching of religiosity, things we were raised on and just set as a normal. Do you realize some of you are going to have to move the fences that were placed around your life as a kid growing up in order to enjoy life? Ruth had someone who gave her a different dream. She hung around Naomi, who had tasted this better life. Let me encourage you, stop hinging your life and hanging on to people with opinions that are on the same plane of what the normalcy is you're trying to break. Stop being a thermometer. See, you have the choice. You can be a Ruth or you can be a Naomi. Or Orpah, excuse me. You can be a Ruth or you can be an Orpah. Orpah was just a thermometer. She just told you how it was. Well, how you doing? Well, you know, it's the same old, same old. But Ruth was a thermostat. A thermometer can only tell you what it is now, but a thermostat is your ability to change to bring what it is now into what you're comfortable with. And so there's one area we need to change our thinking. Act like a thermostat in your life, okay? The lack of exposure to something better will cause you to accept what you have as normal. Get around people that expect better. Hang around prosperous people. I'm not disdaining people that are not prosperous. I'm not disdaining what they have or don't have. I'm disdaining a mentality. Well, they're some of my best friends. They can be your best friends, but do you have to give them audience to their grievances? Do you have to become a participant in their philosophy of life? No, you don't. That is by choice, okay? The way you think is by choice. So Elimelech and Naomi, they went to Moab in their minds to escape that sudden famine that was going on in Judah. But I believe they were sent by God to let Ruth hear of a different life. Do you realize sometimes our trials are not because of us, but it's because they are to expose us to people going through what we are, but they don't consider it a trial because to them it's just normal. A trial is anything that is challenging normalcy. Okay? So, well, Mark, how do I prepare for a change? One of the greatest obstacles to change is ambivalence. And the first task is to make a decision to remind yourself of the reasons you want to change. Some of you are thinking, well, I need a change. Okay, what reasons do you have for a change? Write them down. And then as you look at them again, determine how sick of those things are you. Because until you're tired of it, you're not going to change. This is the reason my philosophy is I'll be good to anybody until they expect it, because I will not facilitate your handicap to stay where you are. I'll give a hand up, and that will start with a hand out. But my hands out are only to bring you up. And if you choose to stay down, and some of you are feeding people with a mental handicap, and I don't mean in a psychological way of an earthly disorder. I mean a mental handicap that they have determined, well, I can just think this way, I can feel this way, I can live this way, and there'll always be somebody to facilitate my normal. Do you realize if you're not enjoying helping somebody, it's because you're getting frustrated that they will not change for themselves. And you, ma'am, are wasting your time. Sir, you're wasting your time. Because there is a time when you just have to shake the dust off your feet. You can either live in Moab or go back to Judah. You only came to Moab to give them a chance of a new normal. But it's time to go. Okay? You've got to figure out the time to go. And when you're wondering how to do something, if you're really wanting to change, when you're wondering how to do something, rather than asking, God, how can I do this? Imagine that you've already succeeded it. Imagine that you've already succeeded in it. Instead of always asking, how am I going to do this? Start imagining that you've already succeeded. That's the psychological from psychiatry, how to make a change. They say in the natural realm of science, if you can train your brain to actually imagine that you've succeeded, your chances of success are high. Okay? So approaching a problem, knowing it has already been solved, puts you in a different mindset. You don't live like you're there. You don't think like you're in that old normal. Dress for where you're going, not where you are. I'll say it again. Dress for where you're going, not for where you are. Okay? I know when I went to Africa, I dressed for where I was going. I didn't dress for where I was. Okay? Because it's a different culture. And some of you are trying to wear old clothes, old normalcies, and yet you want to go somewhere else. You may get there, but you will go back to the bondage wherewith Christ has already made you free. I'm just showing you how to get free. In psychology, they say when a person really wants a change, don't be hard on yourself. See change as a journey. And there's going to be some bumpy patches, and that's just part of the terrain. It becomes easier to be compassionate with yourself when you're not doing as well as you had hoped. And then you begin to celebrate even the smallest, slightest changes that you make. It may be a change in a thinking pattern. It may be a change in a behavioral pattern. Whatever change that you're making to propel you toward that goal is a positive thing. Celebrate that. Now, there are obstacles to changing. You begin to be, you feel overwhelmed, you feel intimidated, you feel and sense fear, because many people fear failure. Well, what if I can't do this? Well, then you have to look back and remember how tired you are of what you have. Some people say, well, I just don't have enough time to change. Oh, you have time to change. More time than you have in living the normalcy that you've accepted. Other obstacles include just letting other things take priority. You don't really want to change if it's not at the top of your list. That's bottom line, straight in your face truth. You don't really want to change. I remember playing sports most of my life up until 25 or 30. And I would hear coaches say they just didn't want it bad enough. And I'm thinking, well, they tried, but knowing how bad you want it gives you that extra acceleration. And I hope some of you are getting frustrated right now with what you've accepted as normal. Frustrated enough to sit down and list out why you want to change. Set yourself even some small goals. Stop dressing for where you are and start dressing for where you're going. Okay? You can change. We usually want change, but what is difficult is the journey. And it is a journey. It's not overnight success. And I know I have a lot of friends that say, well, we're just going to pray. Prayer is great, but you don't. Moabite, the Moabite territory, culture, they weren't going to change. They weren't going to change. Ruth had to change. Stop waiting on your situation to change. Why don't you change, and your situation will have no hold on you? There's a thought. Well, I'm just praying God changes them. Why don't you change and let them and God deal with it? See, you have to get to that point where you just say, you know what, Lord, it's all about me now. I want to change so that that is no longer a bondage to me. And when you realize there is a Ruth somewhere around you that needs to hear of a different life and outcome, you can enjoy change. See, change happens when you focus on the Ruth you were sent for and not just yourself. And I'll say it again. I believe the trial in Judah, the famine in Judah, simply was used to send Elimelech and Naomi to Moab because David's great-grandmother was there before she even knew Boaz. Who is waiting on you to change so they can? I hope this isn't too heavy for you guys, and I just noticed I'm about 2 minutes over. Oh, but I started 2 minutes late. But what's this? When you get fed up with the less than living kind of life, you're going to start changing. I'll finish with this. Jesus changed the world with the message of a better life, even while in a struggle himself. He became flesh. He who was rich became poor that we could become rich. In other words, Jesus suffered a huge change. He had tasted a better life and delivered the message of a better life to a people so they could change their normal. He stayed focused even though he took on flesh of this life, even though he had emotions. Flesh in the scripture refers to the emotions of man. Even though he was emotional as a human being, he was Son of Man, Son of God. Even though he had emotions, he still stayed focused on his mission. He did what he was focused on, even to the cross. He came up and out of the grave, symbolically saying he came up and out of the normal he was exposed to into a new life. Do you realize the resurrection of the dead is not just a one-day event that's going to happen one day? A resurrection is any time Naomi gives the message to Ruth and Ruth rises from the dead of her normalcy. Has your normal become your graveyard? Or has it become your garden? That's your decision. I hope you got something out of this today. And I did go a minute or so longer, and I have to head up and do a service this morning. But thank you guys for tuning in, chiming in, and checking out these messages. Share them around if you don't mind. If you've never become a partner with Mark Shell Ministries, go to the website. It's markshellministries.com. Email me any questions you have. I'll answer what I teach. Check out the product online. I'm getting ready to come out with a new series I'm excited about. And so I'll talk more about that later. But thank you guys so much for everything you do to make this ministry a success. You all be blessed and enjoy your journey to the new you.